talk about Schillinger. Check out this book. All right. If you read this book, you will go to sleep. It's hard to understand. I mean, look at that. There's a bunch of math and stuff in it. All right. So, honestly, it's this guy's kind of important, and I kind of learned about him late. But apparently, the Berklee College of Music was started by one of Schillinger's students to further his method, like the Schillinger School of Music, basically. And after checking out some of this book, I now realize where Mick Goodrick got a lot of his stuff from. All that voicing almanac stuff with all the cycles and whatnot. It's like basically the fleshed out guitarist version of the Schillinger stuff in terms of the diatonic cycles. Okay, so I'm gonna talk. That's what I'm gonna talk about today, because Schillinger's really good at coming up with systems, and this system of cycles and voice leading is actually really, really neat. Now, I'm going to talk about three of the what Schillinger calls the positive progressions. He calls them cycles. Cycle of a third, so I'll put C3. Cycle of a fifth, and cycle of a seventh. Now that's descending. So a descending third is the same as ascending sixth. A descending fifth is the same as ascending fourth, and a descending seventh is the same as up a scale tone. All right, let's talk about C3 first. So it's going to go from, so in the key of C, down a third, okay, C, down to A minor, down to F, D minor, B diminished, G, E minor, and then C. Now if we do those with open triads, it sounds pretty neat. Ran out of frets. So anyway, that's parallel motion. Let's talk about these circles here. This is a thing where he talks about clockwise form and counterclockwise form. This is how to transition from chord to chord. That will give you a really neat principle of voice leading to make your voice leading sound really neat. So if you do clockwise voice leading from C to A minor, here's what's going to happen. So the root of the C is going to go to, or transition to, the third of A. So here's C as the root. The open triads I think sound really nice on guitar, so that's what I was doing. So here's the voicing I was doing. C, G, and E, which is like so. See that? You can also play it like this. Probably recognize that shape a little easier, but so root, fifth, third. That's how it's spread out. All right, so in the clockwise form, the root of C is going to go to the third of A. How about that? It stays on C. Okay, now the third of C goes to the fifth of A. So third of C is E, fifth of A is, I'm sorry, what did I say? Fifth of C is E. No, blah. Third of C is E. Fifth of A is also E. Did I say that right this time? Okay. There it is. Then the fifth of C goes to the root of A. So G is going to go up to A. So that's the only voice that moves up. Right there. These two stay put. And it's going to do it for this one. The only voice that moves is the top. The only voice that moves is the bottom. The only voice that moves is the middle, top, bottom, middle. So you can kind of fill in the gaps there. Here's what it's going to sound like. I went too far, didn't I? When you hear that again. So C to A minor to A. No. C to A minor to F to D minor to B diminished to G to E minor to C. You can do it starting on this other inversion down here. Sorry, start on C. Sound really neat, right? So that's moving in thirds. Now counterclockwise, it's going to jump around quite a bit. It's going to go, let's see. Let me see if I can play it for you. Let me start over again. So clockwise, it jumps quite a bit. So root position of C, it's going to go to the second inversion of A instead of the first inversion of A. And then the first inversion of F. And then the root position of D minor. And then the second inversion of B diminished. And then the first inversion of G major. And then the root position of E minor. And then the second inversion of C. I like to start down here. It's a little bit. That sounds like something. Anyway, it's a hymn. So counterclockwise of cycle of a third, I'm not going to use a whole lot, just because the clockwise sounds so cool. It's just one voice moving. All right, let's move on to C5. All right, so C5 is cycle of a fifth, descending fifths. It's going to go C to F to B diminished to E minor to A minor to D minor to G and back to C. You'll recognize this as a 2-5-1. So this is a pretty common cycle in a lot of music. It's just one of many cycles in Schillinger's method. All right, so this one I think sounds good in clockwise or counterclockwise. The clockwise version has a lot more leaps, however. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the clockwise version. So I'm going to start high because it's going to go down. So I'll write it, let's see, open triad, root, fifth, and then root, fifth, third. You feel me? All right, then you remember this method? So the root is going to go to the third of the next chord. So the root here is going to go to the third of F. So it's going to jump down to A. Does that make sense? All right, then the third, which is up here, is going to go to the fifth of F, which is C. So the fifth of F is C. Let's see if I can write that nicely. Okay. And then the fifth of C is going to go to the root of F. So F. So this will give you still good voice leading. It just jumps around quite a bit. I'm not going to write that all out. I'll just play it for you. Here it is. Here's clockwise, cycle of a fifth. Sounds neat. It's a lot of leaps. Let's talk about counterclockwise form. This time I'm going to start low because the good voice leading will be in ascending when it's counterclockwise. So unlike the cycle of a third, clockwise was the one going up. In the cycle of a fifth, counterclockwise is going to go up. So let's start with open triad again. Root, fifth, third. Root is going to go to the fifth of C. I'm sorry, root of C is going to go to the fifth of F. What's the fifth of F? It's a C. So it's going to stay put. All right, and then the fifth is going to go to the third of F. So the fifth of C is going to go to the third of F, which is A. And then the root, third of C is going to go to the root of F. So check it out. So instead of all three voices making a leap, which happened in the clockwise form, in the counterclockwise form, only two are going to go up. One stays put. And it sounds good. Check it out. So here's cycle of a fifth, counterclockwise form. Sounds really neat. Okay, let's go on to the next one, which is cycle of a seventh. The cycle of a seventh is the same as, so going down a seventh is the same as going up a second. So we're going to go C, down a seventh to D minor, or you can just say it's easier to go up to D minor, then E minor. So it's just scale tone. You've seen this a million times. And you may have run into, if you ever took a theory class, it's really hard to know how to voice these without running into this parallel fifths kind of problem. But Schillinger has solved it for you with this counterclockwise and clockwise thing. The one that I think sounds better, the clockwise jumps around a lot, but the counterclockwise is really interesting. It's got really close voice leading, but it descends, which is really neat. It looks like the harmony is ascending, but so let's talk about that a little bit. I'll start with let's see what I'll do. I'll start high because it goes down. So let's start high again. So root, fifth, third. Okay, so. Was it the counterclockwise? Yeah, counterclockwise. Okay, so the root goes down to the fifth of D. So the root of C goes to the fifth of D. The fifth of D is A. Okay, the fifth of C is going to go to the third of D. So G is going to go down to F. And then the the third of C is going to the root of D. So it's just going to go down a step to D. So all three voices move, but it's pretty close, and you don't have the parallel fifth. It goes from a fifth to a minor sixth, so it's going to work out. Trust me. All right, so here it is. Here's cycle of a seventh counterclockwise. What's cool is you can think the scale going up. You kind of hear changing voices. This is kind of neat. So there you go. So there's 3 different types of positive progressions, according to Schillinger. Positive progressions: cycle of a third, cycle of a fifth, and cycle of a seventh. It's a really neat way to practice your triads, and especially open triads. They sound really neat. Okay, thanks.